everybody, welcome to Colorbar. Betsy Davis with Sandy Alexander, joined by Kim Opdyke.
Hey, Betsy.
Hello. Okay, so I'm excited for this. We're going to give it a little spin today. Kim is usually sitting here, as you guys know, as a co-host with me, but she plays a much larger role within Sandy Alexander, focused on our dining industry and the customers that we support there as the COO of DineTec.
Yes, I do. That's my other hat out of co-hosting.
You have lots of hats, but this is one of your primary ones.
This is my primary hat, actually.
Yes.
is overseeing our dining division. So working with our brands, creating new solutions, developing new technologies to support the dining industry. So I'm super excited to hang up my co-hosting hat and put on my I know what I'm doing glasses and talk all things dining.
Well, you look very smart, so this is going to be great.
That's perfect.
So now I get
what I'm going for.
I get to interview Kim, which is fun.
Yes.
Okay, so talk to us just a little bit about DineTec and just the brand and really kind of the core of what we do for our dining customers.
Well, really, at our core, we support brand marketing mainly through menus. So, the menu, you wouldn't think about it, but the menu is the most important marketing material that brands have once a guest gets into the restaurant.
I'm going to interrupt you already.
Yeah, it's fine.
Just had a meeting last week with a potential new dining customer.
Yes.
And we had that very conversation. She's like, it is our key marketing piece.
It is.
When people get in restaurants. And you say this all the time, but it was great to hear it from a client's perspective.
Well, it's always great to hear you're like, yes, I'm on point.
Yes.
But it truly is. So, I mean, it not only it drives preference, item preference, it drives check, it drives the check average. Mm-hmm. And it really is a part of the brand. So guests would be amazed at how much time and energy and thought and creativity goes into that marketing material, that menu, and how it feels and how it delivers on the brand promise once the guest is in the restaurant.
Yep.
So what we're able to do for that, everything from an engineering standpoint to version management, to data management, to print and national distribution. We're passionate about making sure everything gets tracked to the restaurant on time. I know it's a little cliche, but our motto has always been right restaurant, right menu, right day. And if all of those things fall in line, our rollout has been a success. So I've, worked in this dining space for 20 plus years. I'm like super passionate about it. Just love helping our dining brands, really enhance the guest experience. How we can help drive traffic, how we can help drive margin, what other tools and ideas and technologies do we have at our disposal to really help, this industry as a whole really enhance the guest experience. And the biggest thing off of that is driving repeat traffic.
Yeah. So I just love seeing you. You're already so passionate about it, and I love it. But I know whenever the DineTec organization came into Sandy, I had never really been around the dining industry and didn't really even understand the impact of the menu. And now I love going into a restaurant and being like, we produce this.
Yeah.
And it's all those little things that make the world go round, if you will, that you don't think about all that goes into us just sitting with the menu. Like I think about what you guys do with the eye tracking technology. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about that from a menu design perspective.
Right. So we do a lot of menu tracking, eye tracking, and mapping. So really what we're able to do is track what the guest is going to pay attention to in the first 3 to 5 seconds of looking at a menu. So it's based on format has a lot to do with it, design, colors, whether they use photography or not in the menu, all of that drives attention. So that's what we're really trying to track is where's the guest eye going? What are they paying attention to? So when you're able to map that out and look at it, we're also able to lay financial data over that so you get a complete picture of what the guest is going to see and how does that financially impact me. So do I want to drive preference? Do I want to drive margin? Do I have to have something on the menu, but I don't necessarily want to call attention to it? Well, then that might be positioned in a different spot without a photo. Okay. So we take all of that into account and then provide analysis back to the brands. And give suggestions as to, it's not really design as far as like a creative brand standpoint. It's more like, I call it like engineering design, from where to position things based on what you want your menu to do. How are we performing? I mean, it's odd to think, but every menu has a marketing initiative. So what do you want this menu to do once it's in restaurant? What are our goals? If it's financial, are we testing? So when I first got into this, and I would sit in marketing departments with a lot of our clients and be part of their their strategy sessions. And it's amazing do we test this item? What goes on a menu? What comes off the menu? So you're sitting there with the culinary team, the beverage team, the marketing team, sourcing. So all of these different components go into creating how a dish gets on a menu. And then we kind of take it from there to get that dish on that menu and then that menu to the right restaurant.
It's so interesting. You talked about the chefs getting involved. And I remember being at a recent meeting with a new customer of ours where we're executing for the brand, but they have 500 different restaurants that they're servicing, and all of those restaurants have different chefs, and all of those chefs have a very specific intention for their menus. And so to think about having to even us be engaged at the chef level of the restaurants is really fascinating to me.
Well, that's kind of where it all starts. So, so a lot of brands, if you've got like 500 locations, you could have 200, it doesn't matter. But if you're a national, brand, you also still want to be able to be very authentic and relevant in your local market. So that, along with item choices, recipe changes, pricing, these are all different areas where we get involved from a data management standpoint. So what they're really doing is they're creating versions.
Yep.
So you could have 500 restaurants and you could have 40 versions of your menu. You could have 500. We have brands that they want all of their locations to be able to pick their own craft beer or wine. Because that's a local marketing strategy. We want you to feel like when you come here, if you live in Colorado, you're getting beer that's, local and regional to Colorado. And that resonates. That also drives versions. So we're able to manage all that data and automate that process. So we're able to give them speed to market. So we're not adding any time to the schedule, and we're giving them local flexibility to, enhance the guest experience. And versions are kind of a cool thing. I mean, they're great. Their goal is to, drive preference and margin. And, we've always been like, if it's not going to do that, you probably don't need it. But at least we have the tools in place that if you do want to do that and you do want to compete at that very local level, you are able to do that.
So you've teed up about 3 things that I would love to expand on a little bit. But from a versioning perspective, the other thing that comes up is also just terms and conditions in different states have different requirements around nutrition and calories and legal raw food and all these things that come into play. And so those are driving additional versions as well. So the company is called DineTec.
DineTec.
And so a key component of what we're doing.
That was us being fancy with dining plus technology is how we got to DineTec.
Very fancy.
We are.
But technology is a huge piece of what we're doing. And you've talked about data management and versioning and controls. In a conversation we just had last week, it was around proofing and ensuring that
accuracy is huge.
Accuracy is huge. So talk a little bit about the DineTec technology.
Well, the
DineTec 360.
Well, DineTec 360 is our menu system. It's our menu versioning software. And it really, to some of the things we just talked about, it houses all that information. So it's all your locations, it's all your items, your item description, it's all your pricing tiers, it's any regional exception, legal disclaimer, any of those things all make up a version. So we're able to centralize all of that. So you're able to have all of your location data in there, and we're able to assign locations to markets. Then you're able to assign, items to markets, pricing to markets, exceptions to markets, and create versions. And then that really allows you to decide how many versions do we need, what's driving them. So which I think this is super geeky, but one of our coolest reports is it is a version report. And it shows you, every version that you've created, and then you can drill down into each version and it will tell you exactly what makes one different from another.
I love that.
So you can look at that and decide, yep, I need all of these. Or you can look at it and be like, this one can totally collapse into that one and I don't need all of them. So it's a great tool to make menu decisions. It also automates everything. So we get in design files, they get tagged and templated. So basically when you hit version, or hit create versions, you're literally marrying your art file with your data file and getting PDFs. And then those PDFs can be automatically routed for approval. And we can set that up by however many people you want to sign up with you that it was okay, you know?
Right.
So so we do have a lot of tools that work with that. Another tool that we're super excited about is our Franchise 360 tool.
So good. Yeah.
So good. So that allows brands who have a franchise component to give their franchisees basically input and streamline and drive time, to market out by, automating that process. So they're able to survey the restaurants. They're able to give them the ability to opt in. We're running this summer campaign. Do you want to participate? Yes. Okay. Well, which menu types do you want? It gives them the flexibility to pick what items. They can take corporate pricing. They can do custom pricing. But the cool thing is like they get to see their proofs on the fly. So corporate does not have to get involved and overly manage the franchise ordering approval checkout process. And then we collect all that data and go to press. So Franchise 360 is kind of like a module that sits on top of DineTec 360 and really gives, brands just additional flexibility to make market decisions at a local level.
Yep. So the other thing that I love, we've talked menus a lot, but I think about Franchise 360, and so the POP graphics, the window clings, any of the in-store, in-restaurant signage can also be a component of Franchise 360. And we talked about localization and having it more of a local, personalized experience. And Franchise 360 allows those brands to offer that.
To do that. And like we've talked when I was a co-host in previous podcasts about just brand and marketing trends that we've been seeing. So, they all roll over. We had the comment on one of our previous ones about we're seeing certain marketing trends that touch all of our industries and platforms that we work with, and dining is no different. It is about creating personalized experiences. It is about driving in-restaurant, in-person dining. We want people, takeout is great. We want butts and seats.
I was about to say, you've got to say butts and seats at some point during this conversation because you say it all the time. I've heard our customers use the same thing. I heard recently on a podcast somebody in the dining industry say food and stomachs.
Food and stomachs
Or butts and seats.
We want butts and seats. That's what, the casual dining, that's what that industry is about. It's about coming in. It's about having a moment, making a memory, having an experience, with food and friends and taking that, and coming in for that experience. So that's a big, trend that I think there's a lot of focus to. Obviously delivery and takeout has really changed the dining landscape. That's here to stay. And that's great because that's an additional revenue stream, but really getting that in person, and it gives the brands an opportunity to build loyalty. We're looking for a personalized dining experience. Brands are looking to build loyalty. How the loyalty programs are changing, how we use technology to drive traffic. So, getting people back into restaurants, I think is a huge trend that's it's always been here, but I feel like the focus and attention is, and maybe that's because it is being driven by the guest. It is being driven by people wanting a personalized experience with some of the different generations that we learned existed that I didn't know existed, but not only relying on an online or digital experience. People are looking for an authentic in-person experience. And then how does signage, how does the menu, how do all of these marketing collateral pieces really enhance that?
Right.
And then giving them the tools to be able to execute on that, to create that in-person experience.
Okay, so loyalty.
Yes.
you talked about, and I know that has been kind of a new topic about brands trying to revitalize their loyalty programs. What are you hearing from some of the brands that you're talking to?
Well, even some of the ones we had calls with the other day, the funny thing is like they have the programs, but I feel like there's a renewed interest and focus on these guests are loyal to us. What are their buying habits? We've got more technology than ever to be able to reach these people on a personal level and continue to build and evolve that guest relationship. So I think it's everything from doing different offers for people who are part of your loyalty programs. Obviously, dine-in points, is a big thing. So if you dine in the restaurant, you get points towards.
Interesting. Okay.
You get points towards your next visit. So you may have different offers in restaurant versus if you order online. So one, building that loyalty, rewarding you. I mean, it's like rewarding you for coming in.
Right.
So, and I think that helps them build the relationship. I think it helps them drive traffic. And you're seeing them do different things. A lot of brands are looking at, they've been doing like different pairings. They'll have a special chef event that if you're, a member of, you get invited to, and it may be a wine pairing. It may be a bourbon pairing I've seen. And that's even with some of the brands that, that we do business with. And it's just a different way to reach out to the guest with an invitation. So I'm inviting you to have dinner with me.
Right. Love that. So you bring up the invitation. Another recent conversation that we had with one of the brands we worked with was around their loyalty program, but we started having the data conversation, and I immediately thought of Phil, who's been on Colorbar. But they were saying, like, we have our database of customers, but we want to go find new customers to become loyal. So we talked about how do we take your current database, go find 10,000 more people that look just like your ideal customer. And do marketing campaigns to those individuals, including direct mail, and try to get butts and seats that they may not have seen before and get them to be a part of those loyalty programs.
Yeah,
so also taking a different approach.
And I think that's a very interesting, way to do it. And I'm glad you mentioned that because, everybody is, wanting to find customers like their loyal customer. So they want to reward your loyal customer, and I'd like to get to know you too.
Right.
Type of thing. So yeah.
So and going back again, speaking about the industries that we work with, a lot of the same trends are happening. And we talked with Patsy recently around the retail experience and trying to make those opportunities to get people back in store. But also in the dining industry, creating experience. So it's all about this personal experience and creating these things. We were, again, with a current customer of ours, and they were talking about this pairing, and they did this really cool charcuterie wine situation that was really fun and interesting. But she was like, as it's walking through the restaurant, the intent is to get people to go, what's that? That's super interesting. I want one of those.
How do I get that?
But how do I get that? But it was also kind of this in-restaurant experience to drive a lift in revenue, lift in purchase.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's the big thing. I mean, you can't upsell anybody if they're at home eating dinner. Right. I mean, the opportunity is you want them to come in, you want them to have a great dining experience, like we talked about. You want to create a moment. Like everybody could put their phone down for 5 seconds and like have a moment, hang up and hang out, break bread, whatever you're saying it is. But that's also really, part of the strategy is because you can't upsell anybody at home. Once they've placed the order, that's great. But it's never would you like dessert? Ooh, that appetizer looks good. Oh, that's a special.
What are they eating over?
What are they
having over there?
I'll have what she's having.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, type of moment. So, I think really the how they're looking at brand loyalty, how they're trying to create experiences, personal chef experiences, these pairing events, the charcuterie board. I mean, anything to have an elevated experience once you come in. I mean, everybody is very, what do I want to say? Everybody has, so much time in everybody's busy, day. So you're asking someone to come in, share a moment, and you're asking them for time. And so you want to make sure that when they get in there, everything is aligned from, like I said, how your menu delivers an experience. if it's a chef experience, how that stands out and how does that draw that guest back in, because that's really what we want them to do. We want them to have enjoyed themselves so much that they want to come back. And it is all of those details that we talked about, everything from the chef in the kitchen to making that decision as to what's going to go on the menu, to the creative process through, all the way out the door.
Yeah. So I'm going to come back to our business.
Yeah.
And we want our customers to come back and have had a great experience.
Yes, we do.
And you were
In fact,
talking about getting the menus there at the right time, on the right day. But I know one of the things that we really talk about a lot is giving our customers the transparency for them to be able to see exactly what's happening. So we're trying to make their experience as easy as possible, engaging with us. You've talked about some of the trends with menus, or maybe talk about a little bit of the shift in trends with menus that's happening right now, but also talk a little bit about what we're doing to try to make our customers' experience and working with us even that much more reliable and easy to work with.
Well, our biggest thing, as far as menu trends are concerned, I mean, it's, we're a menu company, so we like what we're seeing as far as menus are concerned if we're going to talk about our business,
yes.
right? So obviously, 2020, we had a lot of shifts. We all went to disposable menus.
Yep, old COVID.
Old COVID. Coming out of that, we went back to a reusable menu. But most brands, due to supply chain issues, and all sorts of different key elements, most brands only went back to an all-day menu. So whereas let's say 2019, before COVID, you might walk in a restaurant and there may be 3 or 4 different touch points of collateral that you go through. There could be a menu that sits on the table. There could be a beverage menu. There could be a wine list. You have your dinner menu. So we saw multiple shifts over the, what is it now, past 5 years. So, but the shift now is headed, back. So we're seeing a lot more brands looking at, we do want to go back and support different day parts with different menus. So we do want to look at having a lunch menu where we can offer lunch, maybe it's Monday through Friday. And then you have your dinner menu. The bar menu made a resurgence pretty quick after the all-day menu. So we're actually seeing more collateral pieces and more touch points for the guests come back into the restaurants. So from our perspective, just really being a good partner, understanding the importance of the live date of a menu, when it goes live, what that means to the restaurant. We can't sell food and have a good guest experience if we don't have a menu.
Right.
So understanding that's critical. That's what drives their business. So really giving them all the flexibility and the tools to be able to react to whatever they're seeing in their marketplace and how to respond to what they want their brand and their guest experience to look like. So it's really automation on our end, everything from automating the actual creation of the menu to tracking. Tracking is a huge thing, making sure it does get to the right restaurant. So we've got dashboards that we can provide transparency for. We track everything ourselves, but if they want transparency on their end as well, they can see where everybody is. We use a lot of those tools to make sure if we have any possible menus that might not make it or might not make it on time, being able to have those conversations up front. So if a reship needs to happen or something like that. So really just making sure that the right menu gets to the right restaurant. I know I'm being repetitive, but it is really what we live by.
Right.
And from being a menu geek, we kind of live and breathe that. So just really understanding really understanding the industry in and of itself, what's happening in the industry, what guests are looking for, and how brands need to respond, and then just really staying one step ahead of all of that to be able to reduce time to market, make sure we're 100% accurate, and give them the flexibility to make changes or change direction and not miss a beat.
Yeah. It's interesting, and we talk about this a lot with most of our customers, but everything from, it just makes me proud listening to you talk about all that we're doing for these customers, because it's everything from product engineering, understanding their strategies, really getting involved in their business. Like we are truly an extension of some of the most important parts of their business, and to give our customers tools to be able to do that in a more streamlined and automated fashion, to be able to give their teams the visibility and transparency that they need and expect to help them drive at the end of the day this really great customer experience. And for us to be a part of that is fun and exciting to hear about.
It's super exciting. It really is. And it is one of those industries that's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun. I mean, who doesn't like to go out with friends and have a drink or a mocktail or, and dinner and hang out and have a conversation and do that. And, one of the other things that I'll just throw in there real quick that we also do is I've always viewed us as an extension of marketing. And, we'll also build custom papers. Like we'll look at guest counts and traffic and how long a menu is going to be in restaurant and how many touches it's going to get. And does it need to have like a soft touch feel? Does it need to be matte? Should it be, like an uncoated stock? So, all of those type of things that, you wouldn't think of all go into this. So it is, even down to, like I said, like the type of paper, the type of finish on a paper, all of that has to support the image and the essence of that brand and what they want the guests to take away from it. So it's really just helping to provide solutions and partnering to really ensure the guest has a great experience at the end of the day. Yeah.
I love it. Well, we're going to have this on another Colorbar episode coming up. You're about to attend an event.
Oh, yeah. We're going to Meg.
You're going to Meg, which talk a little bit just to kind of tee up one of the other episodes that we're going to have. Tee up Meg really quickly before we wrap today.
I'm always excited about Meg.
Yeah.
So Meg is the marketing executive group for Nation's Restaurants, and that show, the restaurant show, is every year in Chicago. So I'm always excited to go to Chicago.
I love Chicago.
Yeah, I know you love Chicago. So, but before the restaurant show starts, the marketing executive group meets. And it's great because it's all the brand and marketing leaders from, national brands all across the country. Some of them are clients, some of them are not, but it's really an exchange of ideas. It's really, we all get together and we understand like what's working, what's challenging, what did we try that didn't work. And it's just a really open forum of exchanging of ideas and networking and really just talking all things restaurant and what we're seeing in the industry, who's doing it right, how things could be being done different. They always have like great guest speakers that aren't necessarily restaurant people. They may come from other industries, but they're bringing that, how do we evoke emotion? How do we drive attention? How do we retain? So all of those conversations. So it's always a great experience, and it's always a learning experience, and it gives us great insight to
what we need to be doing next.
What we need to do next. How do we stay ahead of the curve?
Love it.
So yeah,
well, this was really interesting. Great to have you finally talk about what you do on a daily basis, and a huge part of our business.
Well, thank you very much.
For people to better understand it, and I'm sure we'll talk dining many times.
Yes,
on
we will.
Colorbar. So, all right, Kim, great to see you.
It was good to see you too. Right. Thanks for having me as a guest.
Absolutely.
All right,
thanks everybody. Join us again, Colorbar every week. Join us for another episode.